Hello, friends. If it's Sunday, it's time for the Bach Cantata SCHLEP. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, and today we're on number 5, BWV number 5. Wo soll ich fliehen hin? Where shall I flee to? If you want to do it that way with a preposition at the end of the sentence, but where should I flee? Now, this is another chorale cantata, and that means that it begins with a chorale fantasia in which the chorus sings one line of the chorale and does all kinds of contrapuntal stuff around it, and there is an independent instrumental concerto going on at the same time, all around it. You know, these things are amazing. These Bach choruses, the beginnings of these cantatas, these chorale cantatas, where he creates an entire instrumental texture and then superimposes an entire choral texture on it. It all sounds perfectly natural and fits beautifully, but it's really kind of amazing. It really is. I mean, you just sort of sit there going, whoa, that is really something. After the chorus, there is the usual sequence of recitative, aria, recitative, aria, and in this case there's another recitative and the final chorale, which gives the entire piece a very symmetrical structure. But in the middle of it, smack dab in the middle, there is a recitative, a recitation, which isn't as interesting musically as an aria, and Bach solves this problem in a very interesting way, which we'll get to in a moment. The scoring of this cantata is for a tromba da tirarsi. What is, you may ask, a tromba da tirarsi? Another one of the fabulous instrumental beasties that Bach accumulated in his peregrinations through the Baroque instrumentarium. Well, a tromba da tirarsi is a slide trumpet, kind of like a little trombone. It has a slide, except what slides is not a separate slide out here like a trombone. What slides is the whole trumpet, like that, which can change the pitch and allow you to get more notes. And for the tromba da tirarsi, Bach has written an obbligato solo in the second aria of absolutely insane virtuosity. Holy cow, it's really quite something. In fact, this entire cantata, for those of you who feel that Bach is kind of busy and overwrought and exhausting and relentless in his use of rhythm, this is the cantata that sort of proves it, because this is a busy piece of music. But the reason, of course, is the text. And this particular text has offered Bach some splendid opportunities for word painting, for musical painting based on the actual words. And fortunately, not based on others of the musical words, which we'll get to in a minute. Now, the essence of the opening is the idea that I am so weighted down by my sins that I have no place to run to, no place to turn, no place to go. That's the opening chorus. Except, they say in the recitative, through, of course, the blood of Jesus, which washes away the stain of sin. And this is an extended metaphor that in this particular cantata is extended way longer than it has any right to be. It really is. It's very extended, as you'll see in a minute. But the actual chorale, the hymn tune and the text is quite beautiful. And I want to read you the words because they're lovely. This is from the Bach Cantata website, bach-cantatas.com. You really ought to have a look at it. It's a fabulous website. But they have all the texts of all the cantatas. It's a wonderful, wonderful resource. So I am more than happy to give them a shout out. Not that they need it from me, probably. They have billions more people looking at them than ever will look at me. But anyway, here is the chorale. Where should I flee, since I'm weighed down by my many grievous sins? Where should I find rescue? If everybody in the world came to me, they would not take away my anguish. Now, that's the first line, and it's lovely. It's absolutely lovely, and there's no problem with it. And the final chorale, which has an equally lovely text. Guide then my heart and mind through your spirit so that I may avoid everything that can separate me and you, and in your body may I always remain a member. I mean, they're lovely sentiments, and there's nothing sort of grotesque or sick about it. But then we get to the original poetry. Oh my, then it sort of gets kind of special. Let me tell you. So first there's a recitative, of course, and then there is a tenor aria. And the tenor, for tenor and solo viola, which is really very interesting. And the tenor sings, "Pour yourself out abundantly, you divine spring. Ah, flow over me." So far, so good. "With streams of blood." Uh-oh. "My heart feels the hour of consolation. Now my crushing burdens sink to the ground. The stains of sin are washed away from me." So, okay. So the liquid in question is blood. I mean, what can we do? Then there is an alto recitative, which we'll get to in a moment, and then the bass aria with the tromba da tirarsi solo. "Be dumbfounded, you hosts of hell. You do not make me disheartened. I have only to show this blood to you, and you have to be quiet at once. My courage depends on God." So what you can hear from these texts, I think, is that this is a cantata with a lot of motion in it. You know what I mean? It's just got a lot of moving around. First, there's "Where Should I Flee?" which has to be aptly neurotic and flea-like. And then there's this business of a gushing spring of liquid, shall we say. And then there's the really what's basically a heroic aria of victory, triumphant aria, with the trumpet obbligato solo. So there's a lot happening here, and Bach seizes on it with glee, and that's what makes this cantata so vibrant and so exciting. And it really is exciting. I kid you not. I mean, I'm not making that up. But the other thing that really is important about this is, remember when we looked at BWV4, Christ lag in Todesbanden, Christ lay in the bonds of death. That was 8 movements, and it was also a chorale cantata, but it was the old style chorale cantata where you're really stuck to the words of the chorale for each major section of the cantata. And in that cantata, even though a lot of the words were very positive and triumphant and equally, sort of promise of salvation like, because Christ's death was the agent of our salvation, the whole cantata was in E minor. And the music was sort of resolutely glum, no matter what Bach could do, because he was shackled to the actual music of the chorale for everything that he did. But in this cantata, which is a more modern kind, with da capo arias of the kind that you would find in a Baroque opera, he's not limited in that way. He uses the music of the cantata as the basis for the music, for all of the music, but he isn't stuck to it in that way, in the way he was in Christ lag in Todesbanden. And so you'll hear right away, I'm going to play you some samples, immediately how much more responsive to the meaning of the words Bach is able to be. And I think that really is a significant factor, which, leads to his cantatas becoming steadily more interesting. He wants, he's facing really a tremendous challenge that he solves. I mean, he was a genius with incredible fertility of imagination, because on the one hand, he wants to put as much variety as possible into a very restricted form. And the way that he does it is, it's sheer genius, as you will hear in a moment. So as usual, the musical examples come from the complete Bach cantata cycle, conducted by Helmut Rilling with the Stuttgart Bach Academy on Hänssler. And I want you to hear now the opening ritornello and the entry of the chorus for the first line, the chorale, wo soll ich fliehen hin? I mean, now this is, you're trying to flee. It's supposed to be rapid and somewhat nervous and anxious, and it is. the idea? I mean, it really sounds like you're trying to flee. It is fleeing. It's very, very exciting music. And the writing for the oboes is very virtuosic. And when the chorale comes in, originally the chorale melody is in long notes in the soprano as usual. The lower voices sing a sort of contrapuntal mishmash based on it, and the tromba da tirarsi only doubles the soprano line. It blends with the voices, and so you either don't need it or don't need to hear it. I know there are period instrument performances where you always do hear it, but it really makes no difference at all. It adds nothing. So then there's the first recitative, which is, basically they're all about the blood of Jesus and what the blood does. I mean, that's the bottom line. We don't need to go into them. And then the first aria, which evokes the image of a gushing spring. Fortunately, music is completely helpless to suggest the actual liquid which is gushing forth from the spring. All it can do is gush, and gush it does with a solo viola and a very, very florid tenor line. It sounds like a real bear to sing, but it's beautiful and wonderfully evocative of the text. Here is the ritornello of the first aria. Now, as I said, the central piece in this cantata is a recitative. And, recitatives are nothing but dry accompaniment of the organ and the harpsichord with a cello on the bottom. And, no real melody in the voice. You're just declaiming the text to actual notes. But for this central recitative, Bach has done something quite beautiful. He gives the solo oboe the melody of the chorale to play on top of the recitative. It's an alto recitative. As she's declaiming the text, you hear the music of the chorale, and it is so beautiful. There's something so haunting about it, and it's so simple. It's such a beautiful, poetic effect, but it's absolutely perfect in its simplicity and its appropriateness to what's going on at this point in the cantata. I just, that's what geniuses do. They make something fantastic out of something incredibly simple. Why? Because they understand that it's the right thing in the right place. And when that happens, the result is just magical. And listen to a bit of this recitative. It really is striking, very striking. Isn't that just beautiful? Isn't that lovely? Just the simplicity of it is so compelling. Anyway, I listened to that and it's even better than an aria. I don't know. There just seems to be something so direct and heartfelt about it, and so completely lacking in artifice. Because, Baroque music, it's also duded up, with ornaments and whirligigs and, musical stuff. But to hear something that's just that plain spoken, direct, I think it makes a stunning impression. And it really is the heart of this cantata. But then comes the bass aria, and all of Bach's bass arias, I think, are a little sort of difficult because, they're written for a bass, and those voices don't move that fast, and he wants them to move that fast. And wait till you hear the tromba da tirarsi, the slide trumpet. Wow, 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 wow. This is one knockout of an aria. And here is the opening ritornello. That is really something, isn't it? But as you can tell, when you've got that opening chorus and then these two, arias, which are really, moving, they really move. And then you've got this beautiful heartfelt recitative in the middle, and then there's a briefer soprano recitative in the final chorale at the very end, which we don't need to listen to. But I think you can see that this is a very exciting cantata, for what it is, and it's full of contrast. It's full of a kind of contrast that Bach would be completely unable to achieve in the older cantata style. But he's free to change key. He's free to adapt the music more effectively to those elements in the poems which are suitable for a musical setting. And he just jumps on the opportunity. And the result is an absolutely splendid cantata. Forget the horrible poetry. It's just wonderful, wonderful music that's completely appropriate to what the words are saying. It is both, a liturgical statement, if that happens to be your thing, but beyond that, it's just wonderful to listen to all by itself. And that's, of course, what we're really looking for in these cantatas. Some of them do it. Some of them don't do it so well. This one really does it. It's a splendid piece. And I hope that you'll take some time and listen to the whole thing if you have a chance. It's just a wonderful piece of music. It's Bach at his most inspired. And that, my friends, is today's Bach Cantata SCHLEP. Keep on listening, and I'll keep on schlepping. Take care.